Alright, update on SLP. So yesterday, I was talking about how these 4 hourly EMA ribbons have converged and flipped to the downside. And I was talking about how I believe this is going to, allow enough momentum for SLP to move back to the downside. And we've really invalidated this short-term trend. I'm going to need to start pulling from, more macro fibs now. But you can kind of see we have our last line of support. Well, I mean, this is the micro trend. I'm not going to focus too much attention on that. I'm actually going to move to more of a macro fib now. So, we've got a 786 down here. I have to assume with all this bearish momentum picking up to the downside, especially on these EMA ribbons. I mean, these are real nasty right now. I have to assume that we're going to have a move down to the 786 now, which is down at 156. I believe, this kind of micro trend is pretty much done for. I mean, on the 4 hourly, we're kind of hanging around this 786, but I'm not going to focus too much on that. I think the macro trend is more important to focus on. So just quickly on the 4 hourly, these EMA ribbons are really firing bearish. We're right back into this bull flag. And, I mean, while the squeeze bomb is losing a tiny bit of momentum right now, if we come over to what's going on the bigger picture on the daily, we're really about to flip red for the squeeze momentum indicator. So if we do switch red, which I imagine we will do tomorrow, I mean, there's really no way out of this anymore. We would have to have, because we're literally at the heartline now, I think tomorrow, unless we have a strong push, at least into the short-term moving average, round about 2 cent, but preferably around, 2.10 cent. Unless we have a push up by there by the end of today, if you're watching this tomorrow, then these have probably already switched to the downside. So, I have to kind of call what I see here. The momentum indicators are picking up to the downside, and I really do have to kind of go with my gut feeling that SLP is going to have a move back down to the 786 Fibonacci. Now, this is a move of 17%, so I really don't want to overcomplicate this video and make it too long, because the daily EMA ribbons and the daily squeeze momentum indicator, they paint 1,000,001 different words right now, and I think it's very clear cut that we don't even need to focus on, other indicators or the 4 hourly, in my opinion. I think it is, at least to me, it seems quite obvious that we're going to have a move back down to 156. I could be wrong, but this is what all the technicals are pointing to me right now. And the reason why I think this is very likely and why we need to be slightly cautious, I'm not going to go into every single reason why I believe Bitcoin could potentially be setting up for a fake out towards the 40,000 region before, regaining our bullish market structure. But if we look at what's going on in Bitcoin, Bitcoin's currently struggling to get above 42.5. We're way below these daily EMA ribbons right now. These are going to start converging on each other. The squeeze mom on the daily is basically reset. So by tomorrow, we are going to basically switch to a bearish stance unless we have, some big bullish engulfing candle bringing us up to, round about 43.5. Then this is going to flip bearish. And, I then have to assume that Bitcoin is going to come down to, I mean, there's 1,000,001 reasons why it could come down to 40,000. I'm not going to go through all of them in an SLP video, but nonetheless, we've got strong support down here, 0.5 Fibonacci, and this uptrend here. So I think Bitcoin could be getting ready for a 7.5% flush out. And then this is where it gets very sticky. SLP moves very euphorically, and I'm not necessarily convinced that if Bitcoin's going to be setting up for a 7.5% correction, the SLP is only going to go down 16.5%. So we really need to be slightly cautious here, because if, Bitcoin comes down 7.5%, I would be of the opinion that, SLP is probably going to come down at least 20%. I mean, that is just my opinion. But nonetheless, SLP moves very, very harsh and very, very fast, and we haven't even flipped red on the squeeze momentum indicator. So my gut feeling is really not good right now. My gut feeling is kind of pointing that we're about to lose this entire uptrend, and once we put a daily close below the 786 at 157, that would mean the entire uptrend that we've just seen right now is invalidated. And we've seen this before on the EMA ribbons. I highlighted this in my last video, but most of the time that SLP has been around, you can kind of see we've been red on these daily EMA ribbons, and we had a big fake out one time. This was a massive move, like what we just did recently, and we managed to fire a fake out. We managed to fire long on the daily EMA ribbons. We had a big push up, we made a emming pattern, and then we broke below it, and then, you know, we basically flipped back to red on the daily EMA ribbons. What we're doing now, we've had a big impulse up from the bottom down here, you know, all the way at 1 cent to 4 cents, so, you know, over a 4x, exactly what we did before. And then it's not as clear cut on the daily, but if we look at what's going on the daily, you can see if we take this to there, you can technically see this is a higher low, and while it's not the most perfect M, this is definitely valid, and we are Ming out nonetheless. Even if it's not an M, Ming out doesn't matter if you're doing it like this or you're doing it like this, although the preferred M's are normally like this, where they've got a high and then like a lower high. Nonetheless, you know, even if you've got an M that's like this and it's got a higher low, it is still an Ming pattern, and it is not good to see that we are Ming out, and we've recently just fired on the daily, you know, this very, very short long that we have broken below. So we could be setting up what we've done before. We could be setting up for a massive flush out, and nonetheless, I am of the opinion that if 156 holds, then we are still macro bullish for this uptrend. But if we break below 156, if we put in daily closes below this, you know, then in my opinion, we're done for, and the squeeze mom is really pointing that we are going to have a breakdown of this 786. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong, but you know, these momentum indicators, a lot of the time they really don't lie. I think they're really clear cut and easy to see what's going on, and you know, we're coming down to reset the momentum, so we've got a lot of room to move to the downside, and I don't think a 16.5% decrease after a daily flip of a bearish signal on the squeeze mom is going to be enough to quench the blood loss of the squeeze mom. I think we're really going to be setting up for a potential dangerous move right now, but nonetheless, my most likely scenario is us coming down to the 156. If we hold it, nothing's changed, market structure's still somewhat bullish. But if we break below 156 and put in a daily, I'm going to have to assume that we're at least going to come down and sweep the lows, and then we'd have to be focusing on a 53% drop. So unfortunately, I actually do have this as a somewhat very likely scenario right now. But nonetheless, keep your eyes on 156. As long as 156 holds, then I can't expect this move to come in play, obviously. As long as we have a strong bounce off 156, then we're good. But I don't really see how potentially Bitcoin could be setting up a 7.5% drop, and SLP is only going to move down 16%. So I'm being slightly cautious right now and sitting on the sidelines. I'm not entering any more trades for this. I'd want to see a strong bottoming signal at the 156. Otherwise, you know, I'd have to assume we're coming down to sweep the lows. So that is all I see for SLP. Best of luck if you're in it. Best of luck if you're trying to get in. Once again, none of this is financial advice, just my opinion. And yeah, cowboy out. Peace.